So you want to know more about cryptocurrency in the cities of the future?
Sounds about right.
Let's deep dive into it. We're looking at this podcast you sent over, The Role of Cryptocurrency in the Smart City of Tomorrow.
Yeah,
Pretty interesting title.
definitely.
So I think the first thing we need to talk about is like, what even is a smart city?
Right.
Because that's like the foundation of all of this.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Well,
how did this podcast define it?
it's interesting. They painted a picture of like a living organism almost.
Oh, wow.
Like a city that's like constantly learning and adapting.
Learning and adapting.
Yeah, from all the data that's flowing through it.
Okay.
Like all the systems that are interconnected.
So is this like self-driving cars? Like
Exactly. Self-driving cars, buildings that like adjust their energy usage based on demand. Like
Okay. This is like super futuristic.
It is futuristic, but it's closer than we think.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got...
But here's the thing.
Okay.
To make all that work, we need a financial system that's just as smart.
Ooh.
Right?
So
it has to keep up with all that data.
Yeah.
And all those transactions that are constantly happening.
So that's where crypto comes in?
Exactly.
Okay, so...
The podcast argues that like traditional banking systems might not be agile enough, to handle the speed and volume of transactions.
So are they saying like...
In a true smart city.
Get rid of banks?
Well, not necessarily get rid of them, but rethink their role for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. They focus on cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, which operate on decentralized networks.
So that means...
No banks.
They don't need those like traditional intermediaries.
Interesting. Okay, so...
To process transactions.
But then wouldn't that be kind of chaotic? Like who's making sure everything's running smoothly? That's where the beauty of blockchain comes in.
Blockchain.
Yeah, the tech behind cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
One of the key features is it creates a secure and transparent record of every transaction.
Of every single transaction.
Every single one.
Okay.
And once it's recorded on the blockchain, it's virtually impossible to change it or tamper with it.
So it's like an unbreakable digital ledger.
Unbreakable digital ledger.
That everyone can see.
That everyone can see and trust.
Okay.
Right? So then how...
And the podcast highlights how this could be applied to all sorts of city functions.
Like what?
Like managing contracts.
Okay.
Even running elections.
Oh, elections.
Yeah.
That's a good one. But tamper-proof voting system.
Tamper-proof.
Yeah. Okay.
But what about like everyday stuff?
Right.
Like paying for things.
Well, that's where micropayments come in.
Micropayments.
We use the example of paying for electricity as you use it.
As you use it?
Minute by minute. So instead of getting a bill at the end of the month, you're
Yeah.
constantly paying tiny fractions of cryptocurrency as you go.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and think about all the other automated services in a smart city,
Like
traffic management, public transportation, garbage collection,
Uh-huh.
all adjusting to real-time needs.
Yeah.
All those things require countless tiny instant transactions.
Okay, so crypto would be like the the perfect financial backbone
for manage that whole thing.
Exactly.
Like, how do you keep track of all those micropayments?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
They talk about something called smart contracts.
Smart contracts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Self-executing contracts built on the blockchain.
So like a vending machine.
Kind of.
For agreements.
Yeah.
You put in your crypto.
You put in your cryptocurrency.
It just does its thing.
And the contract automatically fulfills its term. It's a bit more complex than that.
Yeah. But you got the right idea.
Okay.
So imagine your self-driving car
Uh-huh.
parks itself in a smart parking lot.
Okay.
The moment it parks,
Yeah.
a smart contract is triggered, automatically deducting the parking fee from your crypto wallet.
Okay.
No tickets.
Well, seamless.
No fumbling for change, just a seamless transaction recorded on the blockchain.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Right.
Okay, so that makes sense. But doesn't everyone need to be on board with crypto for this to work?
That's a valid point.
Like, that seems like a big hurdle.
Yeah, the podcast does acknowledge that widespread adoption would be crucial for a truly crypto-powered city.
Yeah.
And that leads to some important questions about accessibility education.
Uh-huh.
Whether everyone would be comfortable making that shift.
What about, like, security? I mean, blockchain is super secure, but...
It is.
What about individual users?
That's a great question.
Like people getting hacked and scammed.
And something we can explore further as we delve deeper into the challenges and risks of this vision.
Okay.
But before we get there,
Yeah.
I think it's important to acknowledge the positive potential of crypto in another crucial area, sustainability.
Okay. Sustainability.
Yeah, the podcast makes a compelling case for how this technology could actually help make cities more environmentally friendly.
Really? I'm interested to hear more about that.
Okay.
How could something as digital as cryptocurrency have an impact on the real world?
One of the key ideas they explore is green cryptocurrencies.
Green cryptocurrencies.
Which are designed to incentivize eco-friendly behavior.
Okay, so instead of just like paying for stuff,
yeah,
these green cryptocurrencies are actually tied to like actions that are good for the environment.
Exactly. Imagine a scenario where your city rewards you with tokens for using public transportation biking to work, installing solar panels.
Okay.
And then you can use those tokens to pay for other goods and services.
Oh, so it's like a whole...
creating a closed-loop ecosystem that promotes sustainable choices.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
It's like turning eco-friendly actions into like...
It's like turning eco-friendly actions into a currency that holds real value.
Okay, so we're not just talking about making cities like...
So the podcast suggests this could lead to a more conscious and interconnected relationship between citizens and their urban environment, where everyone benefits from making sustainable choices.
So we're not just talking about making cities like super high-tech.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about making them like livable.
We're talking about making them more livable and sustainable in the long run.
Long run.
Yeah. It's this intersection of technology, sustainability, and social impact that makes this vision so compelling.
Okay.
But of course, like without any new technology, there are potential downsides and challenges.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
It all sounds so amazing.
It does.
But what about actually like
the practical realities
of implementing something like this
on a citywide scale? What are some of the hurdles we might encounter?
Yeah, what are those hurdles?
That's a great question, and one that the podcast touches on as well.
Okay.
We'll need to dig into those challenges along with some of the ethical and societal implications of such a radical shift in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so stay tuned for part 2.
Yes.
Where we're going to explore those potential roadblocks.
We'll explore those.
And really weigh the pros and cons of this whole thing.
The pros and cons of this crypto-powered vision.
All right, sounds good.
Of the city of the future.
All right, see you then.
See you then.
Welcome back to our deep dive. So last time we were talking about this like super optimistic vision of the future with crypto and smart cities and everything.
Right.
But I'm thinking like it can't all be sunshine and roses, right?
You're absolutely right.
There's got to be some bumps in the road.
There are definitely challenges, if we want to make this crypto-powered vision a reality.
Okay, so what are some of those challenges?
Well, one of the biggest ones the podcast mentioned is scalability.
Scalability. Okay, so I hear that word a lot.
You do.
What does it actually mean in this context?
So basically it's about, can the technology handle it?
Okay.
Can it handle the volume of transactions?
Oh, okay.
That would be happening in a city where crypto is used for everything.
Everything.
Think about it. Millions of people constantly making microtransactions.
Oh my God.
For transportation, energy, buying a cup of coffee.
That's a lot of data.
It is a ton of data.
So can the blockchain even keep up?
That's the million-dollar question.
Literally. Okay.
The podcast mentioned that some developers are exploring solutions like Layer 2 networks.
Layer 2 networks.
Yeah, basically they're designed to take some of the burden off the main blockchain.
So it's like an express lane on the highway.
Exactly, a good analogy.
Okay.
But even when we use innovations, it's a really complex challenge.
Okay.
Another concern they raised is energy consumption.
Oh, right. Energy.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about how cryptocurrency could be used to incentivize sustainable practices.
Right.
But isn't it true that some types of cryptocurrency
It is true.
require a lot of energy to mine?
Some of them do.
So that seems
like Bitcoin.
Kind of counterproductive.
You've hit on a key point.
Yeah.
Bitcoin does have a high energy footprint because of the proof of work mining process.
Okay.
But not all cryptocurrencies are created equal.
That's right. We were talking about the green cryptocurrencies.
Exactly.
Those are the ones that are using different methods.
They use alternative mining methods.
Okay.
Or rely on renewable energy sources.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a lot of like...
The challenge is
research.
Choosing the right type of cryptocurrency for a smart city.
And making sure it's aligned with the...
And making sure...
sustainability goals.
That its environmental impact aligns with the overall sustainability goals.
The whole point.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about the people using this technology?
Yes, the human side of the equation.
Because not everyone is like...
Exactly.
Tech savvy.
The podcast does touch on that.
Okay.
There's definitely a learning curve involved in understanding and using cryptocurrency. So for it to be successful, it needs to be user-friendly and accessible.
So like easy-to-use interfaces.
To people of all ages and technical abilities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Intuitive interfaces educational program.
To help people transition.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
And then there's security. Oh, yeah, security. Because I hear about all these hacks and scams
You do.
with cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Yeah.
While blockchain technology itself is very secure, there's always the risk of human error or malicious actors trying to exploit vulnerabilities, so we'd need robust security measures.
For the tech, but also to protect the users.
Not just for the technology, but also to protect individual users and their data.
And their data, okay.
Educate people about best practices for using crypto safely, mechanisms for addressing fraud or theft.
Yeah.
And then there are the larger ethical and societal implications.
Okay, like what?
Well, for example, if a city were to adopt a single cryptocurrency, would that create a system where everyone is forced to participate?
Oh, interesting.
Even those who might not be comfortable with it or have access to the technology.
That's a good point.
And who would have control over this system?
Yeah, who's in control?
Right, that brings up questions.
Big question.
About transparency and accountability.
Yeah.
So while blockchain offers a high degree of transparency in transactions, it's important to consider how this technology could be used to ensure that power is distributed fairly and that citizens have a voice.
So we're not just talking about tech.
In how these systems are implemented.
We're talking about like social, ethical.
It's not just about the technical feasibility.
Political.
We need to think about the social, ethical, and even political ramifications.
Wow, this is complex.
The podcast doesn't shy away from these complexities.
Okay.
It acknowledges that a crypto-powered smart city isn't just about implementing new technology. It's about reimagining how we live, interact, and govern ourselves.
It's like a whole new world.
It is. It's about building a future that's not only efficient and technologically advanced, but also equitable, sustainable, and truly benefits everyone.
Okay, so that's a tall order.
It is.
But it's also exciting.
It's also an incredibly exciting prospect.
Yeah, I'm excited to see.
And while there are challenges to overcome, exploring these possibilities and engaging in these conversations is crucial if we want to shape a future that's aligned with our values.
At the beginning,
and aspirations. Yeah.
At the beginning, the podcast was saying, like, the potential impact of crypto goes way beyond cities.
It does.
So what are your thoughts on that?
That's a fascinating question.
What else could be reshaped by this tech?
One that opens up a whole new realm of possibilities. We'll explore those broader implications and consider the transformative power of cryptocurrency on a global scale.
So stay tuned for part 3.
In the final part of our deep dive.
Where we go beyond the city limits.
Beyond the city limits.
And look at how blockchain could change everything.
And into the wider world of blockchain technology.
Oh, it sounds big.
And its potential to reshape everything.
I'll see you there.
See you there.
Okay, so we've been talking about crypto and smart cities. But this podcast was hinting that there's like a much bigger picture here.
It's true.
Right.
We've only just scratched the surface.
Okay, so what else
can do?
Besides cities, what else could this tech change?
Well, they talked about global supply chains.
Supply chains like Amazon?
But even bigger.
Okay.
Like right now, it's so hard to track where products come from.
Yeah, like you buy something.
You have no idea.
And you don't know if it was made ethically?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like, where did it come from?
Yeah.
How was it made?
It's a black box.
Yeah, it is. So blockchain can fix that.
What if every step of that journey was recorded on a blockchain?
Every step.
Every transaction. Every change of hands.
Okay.
From the very beginning to the very end.
So like a digital passport.
That's the idea?
For every product.
Every product would have its own story.
That's cool. And you, as a consumer, would have access to that information.
Okay, so then you could
see exactly
where your coffee came from.
About what you buy.
Or your clothes.
Well, that's awesome.
It would make it a lot harder for companies to get away with shady stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Transparency is powerful.
It is.
It holds people accountable.
And this would make supply chains more efficient, too, right?
Exactly. The podcast mentioned that streamlining logistics, reducing waste.
Yeah, less waste is always good.
Making everything more efficient.
Okay, so what else?
They also talk about healthcare.
Healthcare.
Oh, yeah?
That's a good one.
It's another area where data is like siloed. Like stuck in separate systems. Hard to share.
Yeah, I've definitely had that problem.
Right.
Like going to different doctors.
Different doctors, different hospitals.
And they don't have your records.
They don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
It can be a nightmare.
It really can be.
So imagine if your entire medical history
was securely stored on a blockchain.
On a blockchain?
You would have complete control over your data.
Oh, wow.
And you could easily grant access to any doctor
you choose. So no more, like,
No more carrying around those giant folders of paperwork.
Or waiting forever for records to transfer.
Exactly. It would streamline an entire process, make it faster, more secure.
And blockchain.
And because blockchain is immutable.
Make sure no one can
No one can tamper with your records.
Yes, with your records.
You have complete control over your privacy.
That's a good feeling.
Right.
That's a really good feeling.
So we've talked about supply chains, healthcare.
Yeah.
But the podcast left us with a really big question.
What's that?
If these principles can revolutionize all these things, what else can they do?
Oh, wow.
It's up to us to imagine the possibilities.
Okay, so to wrap things up,
Yeah.
What's the main thing you want our listeners to remember from this whole deep dive?
I think the most important thing to remember is that we're at a turning point.
A turning point?
Yeah. Cryptocurrency and blockchain.
Okay.
They have the power to completely change our world.
Wow.
In ways we can't even imagine yet.
Yeah.
It's up to us to think critically about these technologies.
To think critically.
To understand the benefits and the risks. And to work together to make sure they're used to create a better future.
A better future for everyone.
A better future for everyone. A future that's fair and sustainable.
That's a great message.
And that benefits all of us.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of cryptocurrency.
My pleasure.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
And we hope you've learned a lot about the potential of this technology.
I hope so.
To shape the future.
To shape the future. Thanks for listening.
Thank everyone.